Alright everybody, welcome out here to today's video. Today guys, we know the Monster Jam World Finals in Nashville, Tennessee is coming up really soon. As we are only a little under 3 months away until the biggest event of the year for Monster Jam. And so today guys, I'm going to be making a prediction video and what I'd like to see for the lineup for World Finals this year for both the main field, skills, and high jump. So let's hop straight into it. My first prediction is Jim Kohler in Avenger. Now, I mean, like, how can you have a World Finals without Avenger? So, that is why this is going to be my first prediction, Jim Kohler in Avenger. You know, you just can't have a World Finals without Jim Kohler. Jim Kohler struggled a little bit last year, as he definitely struggled a little bit in last year, as he did not pick up a single competition win. Although this year he hasn't had a single competition win, there's still a few shows left before World Finals, so he can try to get one. Jim Kohler's been having a much better season, attempting more mini flips, as well as having some really good freestyle runs and some huge air, such as in Anaheim shows 5 and 6 and in Seattle. That is why it's going to be my first pick. Next up is John Gordon in Bad Company. John Gordon has been doing really well this season, as he really shines out in the first quarter. John Gordon competed in the second quarter of 2022 at select shows, such as Foxborough, Nashville, New Orleans, Arlington Show 2, Houston Show 4, and Orlando. And he didn't do the best at those shows. But John Gordon really came out here in the first quarter and is starting to really be dominant, as he has picked up 3 competition wins so far, a racing win in San Diego Show 1, a racing win in Seattle, and a skills challenge win in Anaheim Show 5. John Gordon has been doing really well this season, having lots of wow moments, including 2 incredible saves from Anaheim shows 5 and 6. So I really hope John Gordon can make it back to the World Finals. And I really hope he can make it back and improve in racing. Because last year, I think he got robbed in racing. And, you know, he won that race against Corey Rummel and Megalodon. But then they reran it for some reason. Still think John Gordon should have won and moved on next round. And John Gordon also did really well in freestyle, finishing in 4th place. Ran that crazy mini flip off the car and comboed it into a slap wheelie. Next up is Camden Murphy in the Bakugan Dragonoid. Camden Murphy has been doing really, really well. You know, now that he's starting to have, because in 2021 he returned in October for some October shows, for the October Glendale, El Paso, Arlington, and Houston shows. He returned to, and then he did the first quarter of 2022. Ken Murphy still had some rust on him last year after taking such a long break from being behind the wheel. But it seemed like in the second quarter of 2022, Camden Murphy really started to shine, doing insanely well in Cleveland, Nashville, and New Orleans, as well as doing really good in the Australia and Orlando shows in October. So then Ken Murphy this year, he's done really well, as he's picked up a couple wins, a couple overall event championships, and he had the points lead for a little while on the series after Tampa, Houston, Miami, and St. Louis. He had the points lead, but he unfortunately lost it to Adam Anderson after Minneapolis. But Camden has still been doing super good this season, and that is why he should be at the World Finals. Next up, we have Cole Vennard in the Black Pearl. Cole Vennard has been doing really well this season, as he has had many incredible moments, such as his save from Tampa Show 2, his walk the plank backflip in Tampa Show 1. He had really good freestyles in Detroit Show 2 and in Orlando, and he even had a crazy fire in Miami. So I hope Cole Vennard can make it and go to the World Finals this year. As he did really good in the last World Finals, as he was one of the best performing independent. He was in fact the best performing independent driver at World Finals in last year. He made it to round 3 in racing before losing to Ryan Anderson, son of a digger, and he finished, I believe, in 6th place in freestyle. So let's see if Cole Bernard can make it to the World Finals this year and do that again. Next up, I've got Todd LeDuc in Blue Thunder. Now, I have him driving Blue Thunder because, I do want some different trucks. I don't want everybody to be in the same. I don't want, like, 2 Megalodons and stuff like that, or 2 El Toro Locos. So I wanted to change things up. So even though Tyler did say he wants to drive Megalodon at World Finals when we talked to him at the Pit Party vlog in Jacksonville, well, I hope Feld Entertainment can change their mind and have Todd LeDuc return to Blue Thunder, as Tyler LeDuc has struggled this season in Megalodon, where in last year he just did so much better in Blue Thunder, and I think it fits him more than what Megalodon does. That's why I hope he can return to Blue Thunder. Although Tyler Lucas had a tough season this year, I hope he can make it to the World Finals. Tyler Lucas has been so close to getting a freestyle championship 3 times in a row. He was super close in 2018. He finished 2nd place with a crazy flat spin, but unfortunately lost to Ryan Anderson. 2019, he should have got it, but fan judges robbed him. And then he was super close in 2022, but unfortunately fan judges robbed him again, as well as a good run from Tom Meents. So I hope Todd Luke can make it to the World Finals this year and try to get a freestyle championship. Next up, we've got Cody Saucier in Dragon. Now, Cody Saucier this season hasn't been doing as good as he hoped to. He had the lead after the first week of the season, but he would quickly lose that to Brandon Vinson. And Cody is starting to fall down the leaderboards, where he is now sitting in 5th place. But I hope they can still invite Cody to the World Finals anyway, because Cody is such a good driver. He does really good in stadiums. As I do hope he can drive Dragon at World Finals instead of El Toro Loco, since it was just announced Cody Saucier will be driving El Toro Loco for Reno, Glendale. Not Glendale. Chelsea Van Cleve's driving El Toro Loco in Glendale, but he's announced that he's going to drive El Toro Loco in Reno, Inglewood, Salt Lake City, Denver, and Kansas City. So I hope they can keep him in Dragon, and as I do believe that would fit better than what he would in El Toro Loco. And Cody's a fast racer. He's been doing really good in racing this season, as he has the highest racing winning percentage so far out of anybody so far in the 2023 season, with a winning percentage win of 81.82, winning percentage in a 54-12 loss record. He's been really good in racing, and can possibly hold to try to get a good racing world championship. Since we're returning to the elevated starting lines, it'd be interesting to see how Cody does on it. Since Cody did really well back in the Vegas-styled racing from 2015 to 2018. He did really well, especially 2015 and 16, where he did really well in racing on that kind of a track. Only elevated starting line is different. It's kind of almost the same. It's a Vegas-style racing. So let's see if Cody can thrive on that and see if he can make a World Finals and try to get that racing championship. Next up, I've got Tristan England in Earthshaker. Tristan England is currently right now in the lead of his Arena Series West Tour, and he's been having a really good and solid season. And the past couple of years, he's been overshadowed by Brandon Vinson, and now he's no longer on a tour with Brandon Vinson, and which has allowed him to kind of get his spotlight back. He's been doing really well this season, competing in the arenas. Tristan England last year at World Finals, he did really well in racing, making it to the semifinals before he ended up making a mistake and allowing for Ryan Anderson to get the win. Tristan England's really wanting some redemption probably this year in racing, and so he's definitely going to push it really hard to try to get that racing win. And we'll see what he does. Currently, Tristan England does have the highest skills challenge score, so it'll be really interesting to see how he can do in a skills challenge, but we're going to have to see about that soon. We also really do hope Tristan England can bounce back and pick it up in freestyle at World Finals this year. As Tristan England at World Finals has struggled every time. He had a pretty good run in 2017, but he broke around the first hits on 2018 and 19, then survived almost about a minute in this last year's World Finals. So we hope Tristan England make the World Finals and improve himself in freestyle. We know Tristan England can throw down some really good stadium freestyle runs, especially the ones that we saw in Santo Domingo and Arnhem, Netherlands last year here in November and December. Next up, we have Armando Castro and El Toro Loco. I think it's about time, guys, we step up Armando Castro and put him into the big field. Last year on a weekly update video, they had apparently made a mistake to where they had Armando Castro listed to be a part of the main field. But this was, however, a mistake, as this was meant for the Skills Challenge lineup. I do feel like Armando Castro did get robbed. Armando Castro probably deserved the World Finals, the last spot. He probably deserved it over Nick Pagliarulo. But Armando Castro has been having a good season this year, despite being overshot by Weston Anderson, who's just in the lead, dominating a series with almost like an over 200-point lead over Armando Castro. I still think Armando Castro is having a good enough season where I think he can get into the World Finals. It's about time we can put him in the main field of the World Finals after coming so close last year. Next up, we have Weston Anderson in Gravedigger. I mean, do I have to say anything? This kid has just been on fire. This is his second season. He's just been so dominant. With a 200-plus lead over Armando Castro. Weston has been doing really well. And he's had so many cool and just crazy stuff that has happened this season. Crazy saves, crazy freestyle runs, crazy skills challenge. This kid is really crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow won a world championship this year in freestyle. And whew, this kid is on fire. I cannot wait to see what Weston Anderson can have planned for us at World Finals. Weston Anderson appeared at World Finals last year. And he did pretty average. He was having a really good freestyle run until he lined up for the backflip where he crashed. And he lost round 2 in racing to Tom Mintz in Max D. So let's see how Weston Anderson can do here. And hopefully he can make it to the World Finals this year in Nashville, which he probably will. He's going to probably end up winning his points championship series either probably next weekend or the week after that because of how strong he's been doing. And Weston may be the first person to get an invite to World Finals. Next up, we've got Adam Anderson in Gravedigger. Last year was a struggle for Adam as he had so many mechanical gremlins. But it seems like now that his truck is finally starting to fine-tune, and he's been doing really well. And he's been super dominant. Having so many crazy freestyle runs, such as in Oakland, Anaheim Show 2, Miami Show 1, Tampa Show 2, Orlando, Detroit Show 2. Adam has just been doing really good this year. He started with the points lead throughout the first 2 stops. But he ended up having a bad weekend in St. Louis, which caused Cam Murphy to take the points lead. Adam would then take the points lead back in Minneapolis. So, Adam's just been doing really well. You gotta have Adam in World Finals. Adam's been doing really well this year with some really crazy freestyle runs. He had a front flip, a crazy sidewall off a backflip in Oakland, a front flip in Orlando, or near front flip in Orlando. So that is why we need to see Adam Anderson in the World Finals this year. Next up, we've got Kristen Anderson in Gravedigger. Now, although Kristen Anderson hasn't been having the best season this year as good as last year, having been on the tour with Tristan England, Elvis Linez, and David Ulfert, who have all been tough competitors, but Kristen Anderson has still been doing pretty well this season. And I think she deserves an invite to the Monster Jam World Finals. As last year, Kristen Anderson got her first time to compete in the big field, and she didn't have the best of appearances. So she got last place in the high jump. She got round 1 in racing to Bryce Kenny in the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior. And in freestyle, she did pretty good in freestyle. She had a crazy save but rolled early. And the truck just wasn't sounding as healthy. So I hope Kristen Anderson can come out and compete in the World Finals and have her get another stadium appearance. Also, something I did forget to mention. I really do hope for the World Finals paint schemes. I hope Weston Anderson can run the orange body. Bring back the orange body Morgan Kane run at World Finals 17. So I hope Weston Anderson can bring that body back. That is, kind of as a reference to his days when he drove Bog Hog, a mud truck that Weston used to drive. So I hope they can do that. Adam Anderson, I'm honestly fine with just Adam driving the regular paint scheme. And for Wolf Files, I want Kristen Anderson to drive the Blonde to the Bone paint scheme. As last year, Spin Master released a diecast for the Blonde to the Bone Gravedigger. So I hope they can make that into a real life truck for Kristen Anderson to drive this year at World Finals. Next up, we have next up we've got Tyler Menninga in Gravedigger. Now, Tyler Menninga this year has just been insanely dominant, as he's had the points lead since the first stops in San Diego, and he's just been doing really, really well, and just been doing really crazy stuff, and just been doing really good this season, having lots of crazy moments. His skills challenge runs have been insane. He was super fast and dominant in racing throughout the beginning of the season. He was able to get a clean sweep event, or almost a near clean sweep events in a couple shows. He got some overall event championships in his first ever mud show, and Tyler has just been on rails this year. Although he has had some struggles and mechanical issues such as in Seattle and in Anaheim shows 5 and 6, I know Tyler Menninga is going to come out of the World Finals, and that truck's going to be 100%, and he's going to burn it down for you fans. Next up, we've got Brandon Vincent in Gravedigger. Brandon Vincent's been having another insanely dominant and good season, as he's now trying to get his 4th ever Championship Series win, as he ended up winning the Triple Threat Series back from 2019 and 20. He won the Arena West Tour last year, and it looks like he's going to win this tour again this year. Although John Zimmer Jr. is close behind, I think I think Brandon Vincent should be able to clinch this series championship win probably next week in Green Bay, since this tour is known for Points Week in Florence. So I think Brandon Vincent's gonna make it in. Brandon Vincent has been doing really well in some stadium shows. Brandon Vincent did do some stadium shows post World Finals, as he did stadium shows in Foxborough, Nashville, 2 shows in Melbourne, Sydney, and Orlando, and also Santo Domingo. And he did really well at these shows, getting the tombstone moonwalk off of the backflip ramp. And he was able to have a crazy tombstone in Sydney, Australia, when it was raining. And that is really hard to balance a moonwalk in the rain. And he also had a crazy fire in Melbourne show too. So I cannot wait to see what Brandon Vincent will be having in store for us when he makes it to the World Finals this year. He is our defending World Racing Champion and winning that crazy race in the rain last year. And he would really like to go back and try to defend his World Racing Championship. Although we're not doing over-under style track this year, and we'll be doing the elevated starting lines, we'll be able to see if Brandon Vincent can adapt to this change and try to win the World Championship. Brandon Vincent, and also when we did the elevate, he's looking for his redemption in the elevated starting lines. As in the elevated starting lines last year, when they did the elevating starting lines at World Finals 20 in 2019, Brandon Vincent actually ended up losing in the first race of round 1 to Cynthia Gauthier Monster My Dalmatian Ice. Brandon Vincent is also looking for some redemption in the Skills Challenge and in Freestyle. As in Skills Challenge last year, he ended up getting 8th place. Not 8th, he got 7th place, and then he got near the bottom in Freestyle after he broke on his first hit. Next up, we've got Bryce Kenny in the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior. Bryce Kenny's been struggling in Freestyle these past couple of seasons, in 2021, 2022. But it looks like he's starting to pick up his game now, and he's been nailing a lot of backflips more often this year. And he even had a really crazy save back in Minneapolis Show 1. And Bryce Kenny's been close so many times getting that overall event championship win. But Bryce Kenny is super consistent, as if he can nail a backflip, he can really show down and get a good freestyle. And he's also insanely good at the Skills Challenge and in and in freestyle. If he can just do like top 3 in each of those competitions, Bryce Kane could probably get an overall event championship. So I cannot wait to see if Bryce Kane can make it to the main field this year, as he really deserves it, and I think he could probably do really well. Next up, we have Nick Pagliarulo in Kraken. Now, I really hope Nick Pagliarulo can make it to the World Finals, as he's been doing really well this season. Now, this season, Nick Pagliarulo has missed 4 freestyle competitions, which is the most out of anyone on this tour. He missed some freestyle competitions in Anaheim Show 2, St. Louis Show 1, Tampa Show 2, and Orlando. And Nick has had some struggle in freestyles throughout other shows. But Nick has had some really good freestyles throughout the season, especially in St. Louis Show 2, Miami Show 1, Tampa Show 1, Jacksonville, Minneapolis Show 1, as Nick has just been on rolls in freestyle, as he can just send the Kraken truck across the track. So I really hope we can see Nick Pagliarulo make it to the World Finals, although he is really low in the standings. But I really do want to see somebody from Tomfoolery Motorsports in the World Finals. Next up, we've got Cynthia Gauthier in the Lucas Stabilizer. Cynthia Gauthier has been having a much better season this year compared to last year. Last year was her first year in the Lucas Stabilizer, and she had some struggles at it, being a new chassis and different visibility in a new truck. And plus with some extra pressure, now having to represent Lucas Oil. Cynthia Gauthier has been starting to get more comfortable and has been doing really well this season. Even back before then, Cynthia Gauthier did have some good moments from some of the 2022 second quarter shows, and she ended up doing really well in Melbourne and Sydney, having some high freestyle finishes in Melbourne and winning freestyle in Sydney, as well as the overall event championship. And she also won freestyle in Arnhem Show 2. And this year, Cynthia Gauthier has been on rails with freestyle wins, as she has picked up 4. Although I don't really I think the El Paso one was the only one deserved. I'm sorry, no hate to Cynthia Gauthier, but I do believe San Diego Show 1, San Diego Show 2, and the Anaheim freestyle runs were more deserved wins by Tyler Menninga, Mark List, Brian Anderson. And so, but Cynthia Gauthier though but those freestyle runs Cynthia Gauthier has been really good. Cynthia Gauthier has been having a lot of good freestyles this season, such as in San Diego Show 1, San Diego Show 2, San Diego Show 3, where she got a consecutive backflip in the mud, Anaheim Show 5, Anaheim Show 6, El Paso Show 1, Houston, Texas, Indianapolis. And she's been doing really better this season. And she even almost had a front flip in El Paso Show number 1. And Cynthia Gauthier, she's been getting comfortable with the truck, and she's been doing really well lately. So I cannot wait to see Cynthia Gauthier try and make it to the World Finals. Next up, we've got the Professor Tom Menson Max D, the reigning skills and freestyle world champion. Tom Mentz this year, although he also has missed some freestyle competitions, similar to Nick Pagliarulo. Tom Mentz ended up missing freestyle in 2 shows so far this season, which were in Oakland, where he blew a motor in the first show, and he also missed freestyle in Miami Show 2. But besides that stuff, Tom Mentz has still been doing really well, showing he's still got it. Although he had a really tough start in Oakland, where he blew a motor in intros, Tom Mentz has still been doing really well, picking it up and doing really well in Anaheim shows 1 and 2. Did really well in St. Louis. Did really good in Minneapolis. Had a really good freestyle in Jacksonville, as well. We can't wait to see what Tom Mentz can do here. As the season comes to an end. This one has been a little bit of a rough season for Tom Mentz. Hence, with having a lot of mechanical issues on the truck, as well as having the unfortunate passing of his dad, Bill Mentz. We'll hopefully see Tom Mentz at the World Finals, as you can't have the World Finals without Tom Mentz. And we cannot wait to see if he can defend his his freestyle title and his skills title. Next up, we've got Corey Rummel and Megalodon. Corey Rummel has been having a bit of an okay season this year, but he has had some good moments, such as in El Paso Show 2 and Anaheim Show 5, as he had some pretty good freestyles there. And Corey is also super fast in racing. Although he hasn't hardly had any final round appearances, besides in Arlington, and he has been really fast. Corey Rummel did also get some racing wins in the Vancouver shows, as I believe he won all the racing competitions in Vancouver for an arena show. I do hope Corey Rummel can make it to World Finals. Corey Rummel was also one of the best performing independents in racing at the World Finals, as Corey Rummel ended up making it to round 3 before losing it to Brandon Vincent in Gravedigger. Corey's also looking for some redemption in freestyle World Finals this year after breaking and getting last place in freestyle after not being able to fill 30 seconds. Next up, we have Jamie Gardner in Overboard. Although one of my friends, the Rack, he did ask Jamie Gardner if he was going to run Overboard at World Finals, and he said no, but I hope Jamie Gardner can change his mind. So, because, we don't want us to have 2 El Toro Locos in the World Finals. The only truck I'm okay with having repeats of in a World Finals is Gravediggers. I don't really mind if there's like 5 Gravediggers, but we don't really need 2 El Toro Locos or 2 Megalodons. So I hope Jamie Garner can switch back to Overboard for World Finals. As Jamie Garner had a really good World Finals appearance last year, especially in freestyle where he ended up getting 10th place. Although he was super close to winning the first round race against Weston Anderson, and due to having a late start, we'll hope to see Jamie Garner come back out here and try to redeem himself in racing and throw down a really good show at World Finals. As he's been having a better season this year and hasn't been suffering with as much mechanical gremlins as he did last year, now piloting the El Toro Loco. As Jamie Garner picking up a racing win in Anaheim Show 2, as well as get a skills challenge win in Miami Show 1. So we'll have to see Jamie Garner back at the World Finals this year. Next up, we've got Lindsay Reed in Scooby-Doo. Lindsay Reed was originally going to compete in the 2022 season, but unfortunately she decided to get pregnant and have a baby. So she missed a huge part of the season, as she did not return to driving until MonsterTruckDaily in the October shows of 2022, where she drove in Glendale, Show 2, Albuquerque shows 1 through 4, Arlington Show 2, Houston Show 4, and Orlando, where she did pretty well at that. And she was doing really well in the Orlando October show, where she was getting some huge air in freestyle, so she almost came close to the wall and got shut off, and made it to the semifinals in racing. So I hope Lindsay Reed can return to the World Finals this year, and try to see if she can get another World Freestyle title. Lindsay Reed has had a pretty good season this year, and she has picked up a few overall event championship wins throughout the season, such as in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Show 1, where she had her daughter there with her, and she ended up winning freestyle in the overall event championship. So we hope to see Lindsay Reed at the World Finals this year, driving Scooby-Doo. Next up, speaking of the topic of the ladies, we're going to continue on with Kayla Blood in Soldier Fortune. Although Kayla Blood hasn't been having as good as a season as she did last year, Kayla Blood did have a really good stadium freestyle in the second quarter of 2022, in both Melbourne Show 1 and in Edmonton, as she ended up winning freestyle in the overall event championship back in Edmonton last year. And then last year, she actually went to Australia and drove Whiplash, filling in for Brianna Mahan, who was pregnant and could not drive. So she would fill in and drive Whiplash in Melbourne and Sydney, and she ended up winning freestyle in Melbourne Show 1. Mr. Kayla Blood has also gotten a freestyle win back in Anaheim Show 1. And Kayla Blood has had some other good freestyle runs throughout the season, such as in Tampa Show 1, Tampa Show 2, Orlando, and I think a few other shows. She's had some good freestyle runs in. And Kayla Blood also has been doing a bit better in racing, as she got to the as she ended up having a crazy crash in racing back in Orlando. And was able to get the truck back together and ready for the final round, but unfortunately lost to Camden Murphy. So we hope to see Kayla Blood back at the World Finals this year, as she did have a really good freestyle last year, finishing her in the top half. Next up, we have our reigning high jump champion, Ryan Anderson in Son of a Digger. Although Hoonigan is no longer a sponsor for Son of a Digger, we're super excited to see Ryan back behind the wheel of Son of a Digger. And Ryan has been, although Ryan hasn't had as good of a season as what he did last year, he is starting to really pick it up, as he had an amazing freestyle last weekend in Seattle. We ended up getting the overall event championship, got a good skills run, as well as get a as well as have a good freestyle run, which had lots of huge air, technical maneuvers, a backflip into a crazy save, and a huge big air crash save at the end. We can't wait to see Ryan at the World Finals and what he's going to pull off this year. Ryan had a really good freestyle last year at the World Finals, so we're excited to see what he can do this year. Next up, we've got John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. I mean, this kid being only in his second season in Monster Jam, although he did start driving in Monster Jam 2021, where he did at one show in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He did really good last year, and this year has been on fire, as he's had lots of overall event championship wins and has been dominant, as well as having an amazing freestyle in Louisville, which probably should have won, but unfortunately didn't. So we can always see what John Zimmer Jr. can pull off at World Finals this year, and hopefully he can make it. There's still a chance for him to possibly win the Arena Series Central, but he's going to have a really good show in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and try to dominate the events, and hope something happens to Brandon Vincent, where he either misses any events, due to some truck problems, or just doesn't have a good performance. So we cannot wait to see how John Zimmer Jr. can do, and we can hope he can make it to the World Finals. Next up, we have our last driver for my main field prediction, Bari Musauer in Zombie. Although Bari had a really good season last year, picking up lots of freestyle wins. Although Bari did have a top 2 finish freestyle in Orlando of October last year, but he did pick up a freestyle win last year in Santo Domingo. And Bari, he's done really well this season, as he is a really good freestyle and really consistent. We really won't see him crash a lot, but he can get lots of big air, and he's really a good back flipper. So we can't always see how Bari can do at World Finals, as last year Bari did pretty good, especially in freestyle, where he got in the top 10 with 2 backflips and some huge air. And that is it for the main field. Now here are some of our missing out drivers. First up, here are the missing out drivers. So we have Matt Pagliarulo and Jester. And Matt Pagliarulo has been and possibly one of the best drivers of all time to not make it to a World Finals. So I really do hope Matt Pagliarulo can make it to the World Finals someday. Although Matt Pagliarulo has been having a much better season this year than what he's had in 2021 and 2022, because he's had a much better season compared to those 2 seasons. He's starting to pick it up. And he's been having a really good clean backflip record, where he has nailed backflips at St. Louis Show 2, Miami Show 1, Minneapolis Show 1, Orlando, Detroit Show 1, and Detroit Show 2. As Matt has been picking it up lately, and he's been having a pretty solid ending out to his season. Though he is still suffering in the bottom, having some struggles in the first few stops in Anaheim and in Oakland, as well as some struggles in Tampa. Matt Pagliarulo is still struggling in the bottom, but it's not over yet, and so maybe there's a chance Matt Pagliarulo can end off his season strong with his stops left and try to climb up back to the top of the leaderboard. Next up, we've got Travis Mowry in Velociraptor. Travis Mowry has had a really good season this year, driving Velociraptor, and he's made his Stadium Series debut, as he's actually returned to the Stadium Championship Series for the first time since 2018. Now he's under Team Throttle Monster, not Natural Disaster Racing, and he's driving Velociraptor this time on a Stadium Series instead of Zombie. Travis Ferrari's been doing really good this season as he's nailed some backflips this season, such as in Minneapolis and Orlando and Detroit and St. Louis. And he's also been insanely fast in racing, getting some final round appearances, I believe, in Oakland, St. Louis, Anaheim, and a couple other stops. He also had a racing win, though, in Jacksonville. So that was really nice of him to get, as he is really fast. But unfortunately, it's just so tight this year. This was a 32 truck field. I would say he would absolutely be in, but unfortunately it is not. So there's not enough room. Next up is Mike Christensen in Vendetta. Mike Christensen had a slow start to the season, where he had some struggles in both Oakland and Anaheim. He ended up coming back to St. Louis and nailed a backflip at show 1. Then he had some struggles in Miami. But then in Tampa is where things really started to turn around, and Mike Christensen started picking it up. As he ended up doing really well in freestyle in Tampa show 1, Tampa show 2, Minneapolis show 1, Jacksonville, Orlando, and almost had a save of the year moment in Detroit. But unfortunately, he's just kind of low in the point standings, and I just don't think it will be good enough of a season for Mike Christensen to get into the World Finals. Next up is Tony Oaks in Thunder Wars. It'd be really nice to see Tony Oaks compete at Thunder Wars compete at World Finals, but it's just too tight this year. Colt Stevens made his return to the Stadium Series for the first time since 2020. Colt Stevens used to drive in Stadium Series, as he did do some same show in 2015 and in 2016 in Doomsday, and then he competed in some Stadium Championship Series throughout 2017 and throughout 2020, driving Cletus Zombie and Brodozer. And then he ended up, after the COVID, he ended up taking a break from Monster Jam, but returned to drive Max D in Melbourne, Sydney, and Arnhem. And then this year he decided to come back and he got a new ride of Thunder Wars. And he's had a pretty good season this year, but I just don't think it will be enough for him to get him into the World Finals. Next up, we have Ryan Disharoon in Shaker. Ryan Disharoon was so close to making it to the World Finals in 2022. But unfortunately, he had a tough start to the season with some mechanical gremlins. Then he got a new chassis, which seemed to have been doing him well. This year, he came out and had a struggle in the first 2 events with blown motors. And although he's been starting to pick it up lately at some of these shows, as well as he got an overall event championship back in El Paso, as well as a racing win in Anaheim show 3. Unfortunately, due to some of these technical difficulties and some of these gremlins that Ryan Disharoon has had this season, it's just probably not going to be enough to make him into the World Finals. Next up, we've got Chris Kohler in Monster Mutt. Chris Kohler has been having a really good season this year. Although he did have a slow start in his first 4 stops in San Diego, San Antonio is where he started picking it up, as he was really doing really good freestyle runs in San Antonio, Houston, Indianapolis, and they started going crazy in Anaheim, where he's starting to really do good at some of these bicycles and getting them into crazy saves. As he in fact even picked up a skills and freestyle win in Anaheim show 6, and then a racing win in Arlington. We'll see if Chris Kohler can somehow try to get a overall event championship win with the remaining stops left. But unfortunately, I just do not think this is going to be enough to get Chris Kohler into the World Finals. Next up, we have Mark List and El Toro Loco. Unfortunately, Mark List resigned from Feld after Anaheim show 4. And it was really a shame, because Mark List was having a really good season driving El Toro Locos. He had a really good freestyle runs in Houston, Texas, shows 1 and 2. A really great freestyle run in show 1 of San Diego. Good freestyle runs in San Antonio. And he is doing really well. And he had a lot of talent. But unfortunately, he had family situations down in Costa Rica. He also got married, so life kind of got away from him, and he was unable to continue on for the season. Which is now why we have been having lots of fill-in drivers such as Charlie Pauken, Chelsea Van Cleve, and now Cody Saucier. Next up, we've got Dalton Wildner and Jurassic Attack. Dalton Wildner has had a really good season this year with his first full season in Monster Jam, after competing in select events in 2022. This year he's made his full-time appearance. Although this year he did have an injury in New York, in New York Show 3. He ended up coming back the next week, and he's been doing really well. Although he has slipped down from second place, now down into third at the beginning of the season, he's still picking up overall event championship wins, and he's been doing really well. He is super fast in racing, but I just don't think this year will just be enough to get Jurassic Attack in the World Finals. Jurassic Attack is, without doubt, but besides Jester and Chuck Warner, Jurassic Attack is probably the biggest monster truck, not driver, but just truck in general, to not make it to a World Finals. I mean, the best driver to not make it to World Finals has probably either been Chuck Warner or Matt Pagliarulo. But as far as trucks, not drivers, trucks like Jester, Shaker, Jurassic Attack are just trucks that are some of the best monster trucks out there that have never appeared in a World Finals. But we do hope someday Dalton Wildner can somehow take the Jurassic Attack to the World Finals. Next up, we've got Tony Oaks and Thunder Warris. Tony Oaks was probably robbed last year of going to the World Finals after his good appearance on Arena Series Central. This year, he changed up his ride from Soldier Fortune Black Ops now to drive Thunder Warris. And it is just really unfortunate that Tony Oaks won't be able to make it World Finals, as he's been super close to making World Finals in 2019 and 2022. Where he got robbed in 2022, and lost in the final round of the Showdown in 2019. Hopefully someday Tony Oaks can get to the World Finals. Next up, we've got Zach Garner in Wildside. Zach Garner has been really close to making the World Finals last year, but unfortunately I don't think he can make it this year. Zach Garner, although he had a slow start, has been picking it up lately, and is now in third place, and has had some crazy moves such as in Hampton. I just unfortunately do not think this year I just do not think he'll be able to make it this year, because it's too tight. If this was a 32 truck field, he'd probably make it in. Next up, we've got Elvis Linus in El Toro Loco. Elvis Linus has had a really good season this year, having lots of good freestyles such as in Tucson, Fargo, and Tacoma. And he's had a good season, even one time holding the lead. But unfortunately, Elvis Linus is, I don't think he can be able to make it to the World Finals this year. Unfortunately. Maybe one day we can see Elvis Linus hit the gritty into his way to the World Finals. Next up, we've got David Olfert in Velociraptor. David Olfert's been having a really good season driving this Velociraptor, as he's been really fast in racing, has been nailing a lot of mini flips this year, and has got a couple of wins. Unfortunately, though, this season I just don't think it'll be enough because of how tight the field is. Maybe one day we can see Too Tall make it to the World Finals. Next up, we've got Peter Nyman in Earthshaker. In 2000, in World Finals, when the World Finals 21 was originally going to take place in 2020. And we're going to do the COVID-19 pandemic, had to be postponed to 2022. In World Finals 21, there was originally going to be an international driver to compete in it, which was probably going to be Peter Nyman. But unfortunately, the plans of this have dropped. And unfortunately, I don't know, but Peter Nyman may be competing in one of the Germany shows. Coming up as the Germany shows in Dresden, Germany is on the same day as World Finals. So it's just too bad that we will not be able to see Peter Nyman. Hopefully one day Feld will make that decision to have international driver go to the World Finals, and Peter Nyman can make it in. Last up, we've got Charlie Pauken in Monster Mud. Charlie Pauken is a really good Monster Jam driver. And he did drive for a few shows in the States. As he did drive El Toro Loco in Indianapolis, Anaheim shows 5 and 6, El Paso, and Arlington. But unfortunately, he's competing in the International Tour driving Megalodon. So he unfortunately just isn't able to make it to the World Finals because he will be competing in Dresden, Germany on the same day as the World Finals. Only one day Charlie Pauken can make his return to the United States and to make it to the World Finals. Next up, we have the Skills Challenge, and see who I can make it in. Now, guys, thank you to MonsterTruckDaily for providing us with the statistics, as the top 8 highest skills average will make it to the World Finals. First up, we have Tristan England and Earthshaker, with an average of a 9.370 from this season. Nice job to Tristan England, as he's just been doing really good at the Skills Challenge. He really knows how to balance this truck on the front 2 BKT tires, and he knows how to combo it into a wheelie. So, Tristan England with the highest average so far out here in the Skills Challenge this year. Next up, we've got Weston Anderson and Gravedigger. I really hope Weston Anderson can keep this high average up, as Weston should have been in the Skills Challenge World Finals last year, but he unfortunately wasn't. But this year, it looks like Weston Anderson has been doing good in the Skills Challenge, as he's had some really good skills runs, such as in Columbus and in Rosemont, where he somehow did a moonwalk and then turned the truck around and walked it the other way, clearly defying some physics. Weston Anderson, he's just really good, but he's just got to be in the Skills Challenge. Next up, we have Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. Tyler Menninga's been doing some really cool bicycles this year. He's even comboed some into moonwalks, as well as even doing almost like a skateboard where he goes from one side of the truck to the other. As Tyler's just been doing really good. Tyler also had an amazing tombstone in San Diego Show 3 in the mud, where he got a nice tombstone off the backflip ramp. We can't wait to see what Tyler Menninga can do for the World Finals Skills Challenge this year. Next up, we've got Brandon Vincent in Gravedigger. Brandon Vincent in the Skills Challenge this year has been doing really well, including doing a tombstone off the mini flip in Washington, D.C. Brandon Vincent has also did some really good skills challenge in some Q2 shows of last year. As last year he ended up doing a tombstone and some really good tombstone moonwalks where he reverses. Unlike what Tom mentioned, Mark List, you see where they park the truck onto the top of the backflip ramp, then moonwalk it. Brandon Vincent would just walk it up and just tap it in reverse and moonwalk it, and that's how he named it, the tombstone. Brandon Vincent did the tombstone last year at the World Finals, then tried to combo it into a moon flip, but he unfortunately just couldn't nail it, the moon flip. And then he also had 2 good tombstones in Sydney and in Santo Domingo. He attempted one in Orlando, but was shut off. So I cannot wait to see what Brandon Vincent has in store for this year's World Finals Skills Challenge when he makes it. Next up, we have Elvis Lainez and El Toro Loco. Elvis Lainez has been doing really good at the Skills Challenge since the Q2 shows of last year. As we can hopefully wait for him to compete in the World Finals finally, but although he wouldn't be in the main field, we do hope he can make it and drive in the Skills Challenge. As hopefully Elvis can do really well. And hopefully Elvis, when he does it and he can get his win, he can hit the gritty. Let's see how Elvis Lainez will do here when he makes it to the Skills Challenge, and hopefully he can gritty his way to the win. Next up, we have John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. We're super happy to see John Zimmer Jr. has got a top 8 average, as he is in 6th place, with the average of an 8.453. We hope John Zimmer Jr. can keep up this average, as we have never seen an independent compete in the Skills Challenge before at World Finals, and it's only been failed drivers. So we hope we can see John Zimmer Jr. keep this average up throughout the last shows, and he can make it to the Skills Challenge field at World Finals. Next up, we've got Camden Murphy and the Bakugan Dragonoid in 7th place. We hope we can see Camden Murphy redeem himself, as last year he went for a popper off the mini flip ramp with the 8-pack with the tires, but he unfortunately got last place, and he just couldn't get the pop. So hopefully we can see Camden Murphy redeem himself and do a really good skills challenge. As Camden Murphy did do a really nice tombstone moonwalk back in Anaheim Show 1. So let's see what Camden Murphy has got for us out here in the Skills Championship. Last up, we've got Armando Castro and El Toro Loco. Armando Castro has competed in the past 2 skills challenge, finishing in 5th place both times. Hopefully we can see Armando Castro finish higher than 5th place here if he can make it to the skills challenge. Missing out drivers from the skills challenge lineup are, first off, we have Todd LeDuc. Todd LeDuc has although he's had a tough season, Todd LeDuc has had some good skills challenge runs, such as in St. Louis and in Miami Show 1 and in Jacksonville, as well as also in Detroit Show 1. As you know, maybe Todd LeDuc can maybe get his average up with the last few shows remaining, as there's still some time as this lineup isn't confirmed yet. Next up, we've got Bryce Kenny in the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior. Bryce Kenny in the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior this is a challenge named after him, and Bryce Kenny's done really well in the skills challenge, as he just really knows how to balance that truck on the front 2 BKT tires, as he's really good at doing that for 2 attempts, and he's been able to finish pretty high. In fact, Bryce Kenny got a skills challenge win back in Orlando. So hopefully Bryce Kenny can pick up his average with the next few shows to try and get himself into the top 8. Next up, we've got Tony Oaks and Thunder Warris. Tony Oaks has been doing pretty well at the skills challenge, even picking up a skills challenge win up in Louisville show 2. Hopefully Tony Oaks can maybe pick up his average and try to make his way into the skills championship and try to get himself into as Tony Oaks has competed, I believe, in ATVs before at World Finals, at World Finals 20, but he's never driven any of the monster trucks at World Finals. So hopefully Cody Saucier not Cody Saucier, but hopefully Tony Oaks can do it. Next up, we got David Olfer in Velociraptor. David Olfer has been really good at the skills challenge, trying to do some bicycles and some moonwalks in the arenas, which is really tough to do. He's also been doing really good at getting a reverse wheelie and trying to combo it into a stoppie. But unfortunately, David Olfer, his average is just not up there to make it in there. Hopefully, Olfer can one day make it to the skills challenge, or maybe pick up his average and try to make it this year. Next up, we have Adam Anderson in Gravedigger. Adam Anderson's skills game has really picked up this year, as Adam has not been doing the best at skills throughout 2021 and 2022, and this year has been getting better. Having better stoppies, he's even done the tombstone at a couple of shows, such as in Miami Show 1. He's even done the tombstone and he also had a really good tombstone back in Anaheim Show 1. So hopefully we can see Adam Anderson try to pick up his average and try to get into the top 8. Next up we have Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger. Ryan Anderson has not been having his best year in the skills challenge, as he has rolled over on some of his attempts of sidewalls. But with a lot of shows left, hopefully Ryan Anderson can pick up his average and try to make it to the top 8. As you know, it just wouldn't feel right to have him, since Ryan Anderson is probably the inventor of the skills challenge, as he was the one who was doing all the stoppies and bicycles first. Now, it would just kind of be weird to have a skills challenge without Ryan Anderson. Next up, we have Cody Saucier in Dragon. Cody Saucier has had some good skills challenge runs before with some crazy saves, such as in Louisville Show 1. But Cody's just unfortunately just doesn't have that average, as he's been really trying to get these bicycles in the arenas, which is really tough to do. Hopefully one day Cody can try to pick up his average in these next couple of shows and try and make his way up there. Hopefully he can pick up his average and maybe try to do good in some of the Stadium Series Blue events he has coming up, as well as in Green Bay. Green Bay is the last show he has driving Dragon until the World Finals. Next up, we have Tom Meents in Max D. Tom Meents in Max D, as this is the 2-time Skills Challenge World Finals champion, and he's not in the lineup. Tom Meents has a 9th place average. Hopefully Tom Meents can try to pick up his average. Since the past 3 weeks, he's been doing arena events. That's probably why. Hopefully he can pick up his average throughout the next couple of weeks in Syracuse, Philadelphia, Atlanta, East Rutherford, and Foxborough, and Cleveland to try to see if he can make it to the Skills World Finals. Next up, we have Chris Kohler and Monster Mutt. Chris Kohler's been doing really good, and he's had some crazy bicycles this year. He had a crazy bicycle into a sidewall in San Antonio Show 2, as well as having some good skills challenge runs in Anaheim's shows 3, 5, and 6, where he nailed some crazy saves. Chris Cole also had some pretty good skills challenge during some quarter 2 events of 2022, where he had 2 bicycles into saves back in Arlington Show 2 and Houston Show 4. Last we have Zach Garner in Wildside. He is also on the bubble in 10th place as far as a high skill average. Hopefully Zach Garner can pick up his average within these next couple of stops and can try to make his way into the top 8. Next up we have the High Jump Championship. Also shout out to MonsterJamLord for this screenshot. So first up in our high jump competition, we've got Jim Kohler in Avenger. Jim Kohler's been getting a lot of big air this year, especially in Seattle and in Anaheim shows 3, 4, 5, and 6. And plus, Jim Kohler, he's just been so iconic for big air that we just can't have a high jump competition without Jim Kohler. Next up, we have Todd LeDuc in Blue Thunder. Todd LeDuc has also been known for getting big air, as he has gotten some big air this year, such as in Tampa show number 2, and in Detroit show 1. Hopefully Todd LeDuc can drive Blue Thunder for the high jump competition, like how he said he should drive Blue Thunder for the main field. So we'll see if Todd LeDuc can try to make it into the skills challenge this year, or to the high jump competition, and try to redeem himself after last year where he ended up struggling and got 7th place. Next up, we've got Adam Anderson in Gravedigger. Adam Anderson's been getting a lot of huge air this year, and I hope he can make it to the high jump competition. It's huge air that he's been having a lot, and a lot of his freestyle runs that he's done this year. Next up, we have Nick Pagliarulo in Kraken. Nick has obviously been sending the truck sky high this year, and hopefully he can try to get into the high jump competition, as he's had lots of huge air this year, especially in St. Louis, Jacksonville, Minneapolis, Tampa. So hopefully he can make it in. Next up, we have Cynthia Gauthier in Lucas Stabilizer. Cynthia's also had lots of huge air this year. Cynthia Gauthier has done really good in last year's high jump competition, and she is the OG high jump champion, as she ended up winning the high jump championship back in 2019. Next up, we've got Tom Mentz and Max D. Tom Mentz redeemed himself, did really good in the high jump competition last year, getting 2nd place. Some said he should have won. Hopefully at some point, hopefully he can get the high jump championship this year and make it in. Next up, we've got Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger, the reigning high jump champion. Ryan's gotten huge air this year, especially in Seattle. Hopefully he can make it to the high jump competition, and he can he can try to win and get back to back. Next up, we've got Bari Musauer in Zombie. Some even say Bari should have won the high jump competition last year, but he got 3rd place. Hopefully Bari can try to make it back to the high jump this year and try to win, as he is known for getting some big air. And also the missing outdrives for the high jump competition is we have Corey Rummel and Megalodon. Unfortunately, though, he just hasn't been having the big air this season that we've liked to seen him to do. So, unfortunately, Mr. Extreme Air, as Scott Jordan likes to say, unfortunately, I just don't think he'll be able to make it to the high jump championship. Jamie Garner and Overboard. Jamie Garner's got a lot of huge air in 2021 and in 2023 when he drove Overboard in El Toro Loco. But unfortunately, I just don't think this year he can be able to make it. Next up, we've got Tyler Manga in Gravedigger. Tyler has had some huge air, but unfortunately, he just hasn't lived up to the air of the other drivers. And then Charlie Pauken in Monster Mutt, he just hasn't had the big air, as he just hasn't been able to compete too much, as he's done only a handful of shows in the United States and doing lots of international shows. And since he'll be in Dresden, Germany on July 1st, he will be unable to make it to the High Jump World Championship. And guys, my next video, guys, will be coming up this evening for Good Friday for today's Florence, South Carolina show. Everybody, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And we'll see you all tonight for the Arena Championship Series Central in Florence, South Carolina. Alright, bye-bye, everybody. Have a good Friday. Hey, and have a God bless day, and we'll see you all next time. Peace out.